What happens when elves on the shelf come to life? In this hour-long special, we've gathered the most jaw-dropping moments of elves moving, flying, and even talking. Get ready for an epic adventure filled with surprises. Like, subscribe, and let's get started. In this classic Elf on the Shelf clip, we can see the elf slowly start moving around, but before it looks around to make sure no one can see it, it takes off. Clips like this show that the elf on the shelf can definitely come to life and move on their own, but only if no one's watching them. This girl discovered that one of her elves on the shelf was pregnant, and eventually the elf gave birth to baby twins. One of the babies is even wearing green clothes, and the other wears traditional red elves. We can only wonder why this is the case, and no one even knows how or why these elves got pregnant, but it's an amazing clip, so let's check it out.
Are you allowed to touch elf babies?
I think so.
Oh, so we have a boy and a girl.
But they both have eyelashes.
Everyone has eyelashes.
That's not true.
Even boys have eyelashes.
They do?
Yes. Go look at Dad.
This is probably one of the most confusing Elf on the Shelf caught on camera videos we've seen. While we're still trying to adjust elves on the shelf moving, now we have to see them create extra legs from sneakers to walk and run around the house. Confused? Check out the confusing clip for yourself. Maybe you'll figure it out. In this brief clip, we can see an elf looking straight into the camera before headbutting it. Perhaps the elf didn't like being secretly recorded, and that's why it tried to shut the camera off. After 2 headbutts, the elf understands that it doesn't know how to turn the camera off and it leaves the scene. Up next is this little naughty elf caught moving and tumbling down this little platform he was standing on, next to the little royal guard. It's just a short video, but it's worth watching. Since it's an elf on the shelf getting caught moving, let's check it out. So 2 weeks before Christmas, this dad caught their Elf on the Shelf just flying in the middle of the video, and he was recording. Actually, this dad and his family have a verified Elf on the Shelf YouTube channel that they captured their elf moving a few times, so it must be a real video, and what you're seeing has happened for real. It's about to get even crazier, so make sure to keep on watching until the end. Now we have a clip where this teenager was reading a book while his elf was sitting on a coffee table next to him. Unexpectedly, the elf starts moving, and when its owner notices, he jumps off the chair and runs away. Elves rarely intend to scare their owners, but seeing your elf move on its own can sometimes be scary. Now we have an elf owner who set up a hidden camera in front of the cookie tray to attract his elf to the shelf. But as soon as he leaves the room, you can see his elf popping out from under the table, and as soon as the elf is about to steal one of the cookies, the owner returns into the room and the elf stops moving. We know that an elf on the shelf can be crazy at times, but in this clip we have 2 elves playing with jelly as they pour it into a bowl. While one stirs the bowl, the other one continues to add water inside the bowl full of red jellies. These elves on the shelf seem to be pretty playful as they embark on their unhealthy cooking agenda. As one elf places an empty packet on the other elf's head, they seem to be having the time of their life in this kitchen. We can also see how one elf dips the other elf into the red jelly bowl like a French fry being dipped into ketchup. This is just super amazing to see. This clip starts off with an elf on the shelf sitting on what seems to be a bed, but soon enough it starts moving and hopping around. But at the end of the clip, the elf falls down lifeless. As you might know, elves don't like being seen moving, and perhaps at that moment the owner of this elf entered the room, and that's why the elf just suddenly stopped moving. For this short clip, we have an elf who's lying down on its side and shaking. One evening, the owner found their elf this way and it just kept shaking. We don't know whether the elf was ill or just messing with its owner, but it's pretty strange nonetheless. Elves on the shelf usually wear red clothes, but there are actually clothes that have other colors like green or even black, which is the rarest. Apparently, they have the strongest magical powers, and in this clip, the black elf was caught trying to steal Skittles from the kitchen counter. The family put a bag of Skittles right in front of the camera, hoping the elf would fall for the bait. The elf had problems opening the door, but eventually reached the Skittles and got caught by the person behind the camera. However, the elf just teleported out of his hand and escaped the dangerous situation. Now we have a clip of a baby elf that was flying with methods that are more traditional instead of using hot air balloons or airplanes. This baby elf was using magic to fly. This elf is also way cuter and even more powerful than the normal elves that we're used to, so the guy that recorded him put a secret camera in his living room to record him throughout the night, and he ended up catching this cute little flying elf around the room back and forth until it reached the table and noticed the secret camera recording him, so the elf got scared and turned it off. For this short clip, we have an elf that started moving at night. It peeks its head from behind the couch, but soon after, the family dog notices the elf moving and starts chasing after it. The elf even hides behind the couch, so let's just hope that the dog wants to play with the elf instead of tearing it apart. Because they heard noises coming from the cereal box the night before, the family set out to find what this elf was up to and trap him before he can get away. In order to catch the elf, they set up a camera the next day. Because of this, the hunch turned out to be right. He was hanging out and eating some sugar cookie cereal. In any case, let's check out the video and see what happened at the end. Now we have a clip that captured the spontaneous moment when this dad got their elf on the shelf moving in the middle of the night. Right before this footage, he was told by kids that they should put on a CCTV camera to catch the elf, and so here we are. It turns out you should listen to your kids, especially when it comes to magical stuff like you're witnessing in this clip. For this clip, we have a super energetic elf who starts moving right in front of the camera. The elf looks straight at the camera and does a little dance of joy before starting to walk back and forth. At the end of the clip, it seems that the elf has left the camera, but its legs return to the frame before finally taking off. Up next, we have a crazy clip of an elf named Pogo hosting a pool party in the sink. At first, the elves fill the sink with water and then bring some inflatable toys, so every elf in the house would know that it's a party. After Pogo tests out its inflatable flamingo, it invites its elf friends to join in the sink. As you can see, elves definitely not a party.
Looking good. Let's put in our flamingo. So heavy. Uh-oh. Now we need the rubber ducks. Let me touch my friends to see if they can come over. We're here. Hi there, everybody. Uh-oh.
Some elves on the shelf are super funny like this one. It was just chilling on a Christmas tree and looked straight into the camera and raised its hand in a dabbing position. It's just insane. It makes you think whether it's something Santa's teaching the elves or it's just this elf that's seen the kids do it many times and wanted to try it itself. This clip shows an elf who wanted Kellogg's cereal so bad that it literally dived right inside the box where it enjoyed eating cereal. Elf on the shelf really loves standing and clinging onto Christmas trees, so it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see how this amazing elf gets his way to the top of the Christmas tree. Trust me, it's truly amazing. Elves on the shelf during the festive season is a common theme for decors, but it seems like the elf in this clip is not up for the festive season, nor does it like its position on the Christmas tree. In this clip, an elf on the shelf, or rather on a Christmas tree, was caught on camera moving from the top of the Christmas tree to another position below. Let's take a look. So this mom set up some security cameras at the start of December because she knew that her children's elves on the shelf would like to roam around the house and do some bad stuff. In this clip, you can see them captured scooted around the house late at night, but they do something crazy at the end, so keep on watching.
Have you ever seen spooky elves on the shelf? This one will undoubtedly frighten you because this clip was recorded right after Halloween, and I guess one of the elves decided to visit his family very early before Christmas and have some fun with Halloween props. The final clip shows an elf who's obviously in a party mood. In the days leading up to Christmas, the smart little guy eventually figured out how to use a laptop and goes to YouTube to listen to some music, and he apparently knew exactly what he was in the mood for before starting his little party as he starts playing his favorite song and showing off his sick dance moves. Partying with elves would be super fun, and it's a pity that they aren't allowed to move in front of people. These elves must be used to being captured on camera, and they should be aware by now that people know that they can come to life. And back in the day, every elf was captured moving on camera would get fired, but maybe this year Santa has changed the North Pole laws or something like that, because this elf was sitting with his face turned away from the camera when out of nowhere it just turned around and looked straight into it. It's just insane, so let's check it out. Okay, you guys might be shocked about what you're about to see, but behold, it's an elf on the shelf. This time, it's just really gonna be fun. Well, this elf on the shelf was just getting caught out of bed going to the bathroom, but he can't seem to be able to lift the toilet seat. And here's the funny part, he decides to wee all over the bathroom sink instead. What a silly elf, right guys? This clip is a short segment from a TV news report that shows one elf on the shelf doing all sorts of crazy stuff on camera. So you're not supposed to see an elf on the shelf with your own two eyes because apparently the elves can lose their magical powers if that happens. But if you record them on camera, nothing bad ends up happening to them, so keep on watching. In this clip, we can see the elf on the shelf being recorded by a hidden camera, which captures him starting to move. The elf slowly moves its arms and legs before using its magical powers to briefly stop the camera from recording. Now we can see the elf looking straight at it, and the elf winks and smiles before using its magic once again, this time to disappear. According to the rule of elves on the shelf, kids are not allowed to touch them. This rule must have been implemented for the safety of these living elves. Maybe these elves actually go extinct, so it's never a good idea to touch them. This clip was filmed with someone actively present, so we can see the person recording is playing with the elf's hat. This is a really bad idea, but in the end, the person got what he wanted because the elf eventually reacted and blinked. Okay, you won't be able to convince me any longer that these elves didn't develop a taste for cereal at this point, due to the fact that this family has heard noises coming from cereal boxes the night before. The family was determined to find out what the elf was up to and trapped him before it could get away, so the next day they decided to set up a camera in order to catch their elf in the act. The hunch was correct, and he was actually hanging around and snacking on some sugar cookie cereal. But more than that, he appears to be in a state of limbo, and that's just what you get for being a glutton. Anyways, let's have a look at this clip and see what happens at the end. Now we have a clip of an elf just strolling around the living room. This girl captured this incredible footage last year on Christmas Eve, and it's a truly magical moment of an elf on the shelf coming to life and walking around the living room. Now Now we have a clip of this roaming elf who starts its journey on the bed before making its way on the Christmas tree. The owner of the elf is recording it without being noticed with its special binoculars, which allow him to see the elf from afar. This is why the elf moves freely and roams all around the house. What an incredible clip.
Two elves on the shelf were caught moving on camera and having a string showdown on their own. It's hard to know who will win between the two, so pick your fighter and keep on watching until the end.
In this clip, we have a security camera footage of 3 elves sitting on a piano. The clip gets exciting when one of the elves starts moving. It briefly leaves the frame before returning using its magic to float around. Then the second elf comes to life, jumps up, and even flies for a second. And finally, the third elf starts moving and joins its 2 friends on an adventure. In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught moving towards the sleeping dog, and at first it seems like the elf was just having fun and dancing around the dog, but then the elf turns to its furry friend with a treat. This little child wanted to catch an elf on the shelf, but it takes a weird turn because not even the kid can figure out what the elf was doing. The elf captured in this clip is a really strange fellow, and his behavior is peculiar to say the least.
An elf on the shelf was caught on camera lifting itself from the inside of Santa's socks and then started moving around the house until it got to the bag where there was a lot of candies inside. After a while of trying to create a sleeping spot for itself in between the candies on the floor, it finally went back to staying inside of the socks. It's probably much warmer than the alternative.
Here we have another clip showcasing elves eating their Thanksgiving dinner. The elves can be seen with evidence of the food they stole right in their mouth. We can't blame them because they might have known that they might not be invited to Thanksgiving, so they decided to take food for themselves.
Well, look at the mashed potatoes. Meeble started mashing them. She's so
In the first clip, the family elf Carol was being asked by one of the family members to tell Santa they'd been really good that year so they could receive gifts from Santa. But then came the unbelievable. Carol responded with what we think is a yes by moving her eyes in the other direction. Now, according to the family, Carol arrived in their home on December 1st, and just 7 days before Christmas, she moved her eyes, causing them to get scared. But no one should be afraid of elves. They're friendly creatures after all. In this clip, YouTuber Meeble Sporellas managed to catch their elves on the shelves sneaking various candies and sweets. We can't blame them. After all, sweets are the main source of energy for elves.
This clip shows an elf on the shelf that was captured jumping up and down and moving from one place to another. It probably had a restless night, but it eventually got tired and found a place to rest. In this clip, we have 2 elves that were caught walking right across the living room. At the beginning, the first elf makes its trip across the room, and later we can see the second elf following suit. What an incredible clip. This guy is aware that something is going on late at night and that their elf was up to something, so he installed a concealed camera to catch this mischievous elf. Let's take a look at what he's got. Alright, so it enters the room, disappears behind the table, and starts flying across the room. This elf is definitely using elf magic, but following this performance, he goes to the bedroom where the man is sleeping, and well, let's just take a look at what the elf ends up doing.
This clip shows 3 to 4 elves in a Spider-Man toy sitting on an empty strawberry carton, while a super rare black elf is pushing them from behind until the carton starts sliding down the stairs as if it were a sled. It looks super fun, but they end up crashing terribly at the bottom of the staircase. These elves are super naughty because they're supposed to be investigating the children and they see if they're acting good enough to get the gifts from Santa, but who's looking over the elves? If someone would send this clip to Santa, these elves would definitely get fired, so let's check it out.
In this clip, we can see 2 elves that were caught sharing a pumpkin. We all know that elves love sweets, but who knew that they also indulge in pumpkins? Now that's news for us.
This clip was recorded by a girl who was playing with her elf on the shelf in the pantry when she noticed that another elf, this one wearing black clothes, is trying to squeeze under the doors. As she picks up the elf, she notices that he doesn't have any legs, and then the other 2 elves can be seen waving to the girl from the other side of the doors. According to the girl, the 2 elves actually locked her inside the pantry, and she had to wait for hours until her mother came back from work to unlock the doors. Who knew that elves could pull such evil pranks off on their owners?
Okay, you don't look as derpy. You look a little wonky. Your hat's coming off, Evel. But look at, there's this perfectly derpy little guy. He looks happy. And then here's this little sad squished guy who lost his legs in surgery. Huh? Oh, hello! Welcome! Yes, we have a derpy. We have your members. But guess what? They got a new makeover.
This clip shows an elf on the shelf that was caught sitting calmly on top of the bed before starting to raise its hand. Maybe it has a question to ask, who knows? An elf on the shelf was caught on camera, actually teasing the viewers. The elf in this clip is seen playing hide and seek with the camera. How cute. For this clip, we have an elf who decided to surprise its sleeping owner by descending from the ceiling and hopping onto her head, which was enough to wake up the girl. Surprisingly, she gets scared and starts shouting. Perhaps she didn't see that it was an elf, and that's why she got so scared.
This clip was captured by a man who set up a camera to catch his elf on the shelf floating around his bedroom before it started moving towards his pillows and acting as if it had gone to sleep, and finally moving down the bedside to hide on the floor. A mysterious elf chose midnight to fly around the dining room and got caught on camera in the process. While at first it seemed the elf didn't notice the camera, the way it flew into hiding all of a sudden made us suspicious, so let's check it out.
Now we have a clip showing a baby elf riding around a tiny toy car when the elf discovers one of her fellow elves locked inside a vault cage. The owner is shocked to see one of her cutest elves being locked and starts looking for the culprit, but none of the elves confess, so maybe it was an evil elf on the shelf locked up in the elf cage. Let's check it out.
How'd she get in and how did she get out? Yeah, she's looking out, but hey, you know what? She's still smiling.
This clip starts off like many elf on the shelf caught moving clips, by the elf approaching the camera, but unlike many other elves who take interest in cameras, this one was angry that it was recording and literally flipped it open. We can't really blame the elf because they can't allow themselves to be caught moving.
This clip captured a pregnant elf on the shelf moving and giving birth right in front of the camera. This is probably the first time such an event has been captured on camera, and it's truly magical. You can see that the baby elf looks slightly different than its mother because it's still just a newborn, and it will grow up to be a magical elf just like its mother, so let's check it out.
Oh, I just can't believe all of her cuteness. Go ahead, we'll put you right inside there. Oh, such a little tiny, cute little baby elfkin. Woo! Meebs, is that you? It is!
This clip shows an elf who used his powerful abilities to sneak into the kitchen to get his favorite treat. If you don't know, every elf on the shelf has a huge sweet tooth, so their diet is just cinnamon, rock sweets, and obviously Skittles. As you'll see, this elf had the power to lift this massive box to the top shelf and grab some candy, so keep on watching. This clip shows footage from a hidden camera which captured an elf on the shelf flying. You can see one elf standing on top of what seemed to be a table and leaning on a glass candle holder, but after a while the elf suddenly sets off for a quick flight and finally comes towards the camera to stare at it. The elf probably noticed that it had recorded everything, and now it wants to turn it off and delete the footage.
In this fascinating clip, we can see two elves slowly approaching the camera, and you can hear them start giggling as they inspect this device. We don't know why the elves were laughing, but maybe they knew their owners were trying to catch them moving. But whatever the reason, their laugh is really cute. For the residents of this house, Elves on the Shelf might not be on the budget for next Christmas, and we can't blame them, and neither will you after watching this clip of their elf on the shelf clearly enjoying throwing tantrums and making his opinions known by trashing his owner's kitchen, opening shelves and fridge to rearrange everything inside, and then proceeding to dump some on the ground.
If there's one thing elves are good at, it's turning a situation around in their favor. When an elf on the shelf was caught moving on camera, it decided to turn the situation around and tease the camera instead.
In December 2013, an office was explored by an elf on the shelf, and it was caught wandering around with 4 surveillance cameras. The team was able to observe every inch of the movement of the elf, which roamed all around the office, checking out the Christmas lights and other decorations. Finally, camera 4 captured the elf moving into another room and coming back holding a piece of paper, which is a scan of itself. The elf probably thought that's how humans take selfies. Up next, we have a clip of this girl setting up a camera right in front of an elf who's sitting right under the Christmas tree. As soon as the girl leaves the room, the elf uses magic to teleport out of sight, only to reappear right in front of the camera. The elf starts moving and leaves the frame before returning right in front of it shortly after. What a wonderful clip of an elf on the shelf moving. This clip shows an entire elf family stuck inside a lantern. You can see a grown-up elf with several of its babies, which are wearing many different colors. We don't know how all of them ended up being stuck there, but luckily one of the elves started talking and tells us an entire story, so let's keep watching until the end.
It's kind of hard to explain, but Dart saw this glowing magical light, and he thought we would like to hang out inside of it, but then he put us all inside, and then he closed it and locked it with a big lock, and now we're all trapped inside here, and I was hoping maybe, just maybe, you could use your magic gloves and help save us.
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera playing by itself around the house, a classical moving elf on the shelf. In this clip, a hidden camera caught an elf on the shelf moving, but not just that, the elf itself was also seen flying around the house on what seemed to be a magical skateboard before finally finding a place to rest. This is just amazing to see, don't you think? Peeking right at the camera, the elves even start headbutting the camera, and then they heard someone coming to open the doors and made their escape. Now we have a clip where this woman tricked her elf into moving. She told him that she was leaving the room, but little did the elf know that there was a hidden camera right in front of it. As the woman left the room, the elf started moving and jumping off the cabinet, leaving a magical trail behind itself. For this short clip, we have footage of a security camera at a garage. It captured an elf who entered the garage, turned on the lights, and looked straight at the camera. The elf was probably planning to do something more, but it noticed the camera and escaped the scene. In this clip, we have an elf that doesn't wait until nightfall to stretch his legs for a bit. His name is Boris, and he seems to be unaware of the fact that he's been set up and is being filmed. After his human friend leaves him sitting on the sofa alone for just a minute to go downstairs, it only takes Boris a moment to seize the opportunity. The little fella gets up and spins around, doing pirouette-like movements, almost as if he's practicing figure skating. For an instant, he disappears from the screen before flying back into view and then dropping down on his face as he hears his friend coming back. Unfortunately, Boris might have been a little too reckless since he was not only caught on camera, but even gives himself away due to the fact that he's in a completely different position than what his human friend left him in before. So this dad set up security cameras in his kid's room to capture the elf, and they were checking out the footage, which is just insane, and I can't believe it's real. Do you think this elf on the shelf started moving around the camera, or is this fake? The elf on the shelf doesn't want to be seen moving when people are around, but in this case, it did start moving while on camera. I don't see how you could fake this, but you can see that the elf on the shelf is moving out of the box, jumping out of the box, and roaming all over the room, and it's absolutely spectacular, so let's check it out. This clip is from a family YouTube channel which captured a unique elf. It's unlike all other moving elves on the shelf because this one is just a giant elf. It must be the size of an adult person, and who knew that elves can grow that tall? Unfortunately, this elf was really angry that it was that tall, and it's just making a mess all around the house, like throwing furniture around. Maybe this elf got fired by Santa and became angry because now he doesn't have a job.
Sounds like it's getting a pan.
Yeah?
What is it?
He almost looks familiar.
Oh no, what's he gonna do with that? Nothing.
Nothing, alright?
Oh, he's gonna mess with the chairs.
Gigo, he's just like you. He is a naughty little elf. He looks
Did you tell someone to go into the house and break into our house? What did he just do?
He turned on the sink.
He turned on the water. Are you serious?
The water?
This elf played so many pranks on this family, and you're about to be in for an adventure. In the first few seconds of the video, the elf starts things off by sliding down the stairs and onto the fire truck toy. Then it drives to the family's room, and then the lights begin to rapidly turn off and on. But that's not the craziest part. The elf goes on to climb up the tree in the fireplace and, well, unhooks the family socks. This elf is just so mischievous, but because of that, we have this great clip to show you, so make sure to stick around to the end. In a twisted turn of events, an elf on the shelf decided to reveal itself and got caught on camera moving, but only on its own terms, moving enough for the camera to capture its movement, but also hiding from the camera too. This shows elves on the shelf caught red-handed at the scene of their crime. It's the second day of Thanksgiving, and these elves must have been angry about not getting an invite to eat because they ended up breaking into the family fridge and having a feast. We can learn from this clip that it's better to just invite your elves to Thanksgiving because they might get their piece of dinner one way or another. Elf on the shelf really loves standing and clinging onto the Christmas trees, and it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see this amazing elf find his way up the Christmas tree. The elf of this family was constantly teleporting all around their house, so in this clip they decided to trap it inside glass, but as soon as they did, the elf used its magical powers once again and teleported to freedom. The elf appears next to them on the couch, and it's one of the greatest displays of elf magic ever captured on camera.
Wait. It has to be the... What? It's not in there, dude?
Elves coming alive and starting to move is already scary knowledge, but also knowing that it doesn't only come alive, but can sometimes help with the house chores without you knowing can be even scarier. In this clip, an elf on the shelf is seen flying into the laundry room before flying into the washing machine and then bringing out a sock. What a helper. While some elves on the shelf don't mind getting caught on cameras, and some even wave at the camera once they spot it, there are also some elves who just don't like getting caught on camera moving, and will do everything to avoid it. A great example is this elf, who after trying its best not to get caught flying, eventually got caught. This clip shows one of the elves driving a super expensive sports car. Obviously, it's a toy car because no elf on the shelf is large enough to drive a normal car, but it's just crazy to think that they know how to drive, and it shows that elves on the shelf have many different talents. This clip isn't anything new, but a moving elf is still fascinating to watch. Did you notice the elf's movement near the door? According to the video's owner, he was astonished when he saw the clip recorded on a surveillance camera, and then he was super happy about his decision to place it there. It appears that the family's suspicions about the elf on the shelf have increased, and they believe he's likely roaming around the house. And in order to provide him with a little light, they propped him up in front of the laptop because, you know, they had to turn all the lights down in order for the elf to believe that they're sleeping. And scary enough, it moved its head in a strange way, which is going to impress a lot of you, so let's check it out. It's time for some vitamins, and this elf on the shelf knows the right vitamin to pick from. In this clip, the elf on the shelf is trying its best to move the oranges on the table, and after much struggle, it gave up and decided to nap by resting on one of the oranges instead. A makeshift pillow out of an orange is something we never thought was possible, but this elf proved us wrong. This kid was introducing their elf on the shelf named Jingle, and later he leaves the elf in front of the camera in an attempt to capture moving on video. Naturally, he does indeed move, but then it vanishes into thin air. But just think for a second, what if the elf simply didn't move at all while the video was being recorded? That would be extremely embarrassing for those attempting to catch them, but luckily this clip is a success. Now we have a clip of this one kid who decided to capture the elf on the shelf moving inside of his home. This is the first time this child has ever owned an elf on the shelf, so he was super excited and was really hyped to record him moving. So he turned on the camera at midnight and succeeded. The boy captured the elf peeking around the corner to check if the hallway is free to make an escape, and then he used his magical powers for something crazy at the end of the clip, so make sure to keep on watching. The security camera of a home captured something bizarre when the owners were not at home. In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving directly in front of the security camera and then started staring at it. What a sight to see. This is one of the strangest elves on the shelf's caught on camera clips. Rather than the owners of the elves setting up the camera themselves to catch their elves moving, the elves themselves decided to do the honor by filming themselves moving. The elves recorded this clip in the middle of the night when the owners were sleeping. We think one of the things elves don't account for is getting caught on camera while moving, even though they're supposed to not have the ability to move at all. However, as soon as this particular elf noticed the camera, it went into its hiding mode immediately, just to avoid getting captured. In this clip, the elf was caught moving its eyes, and it's very rare to see an elf on a shelf moving its eyes, so it's a super special case. The person who took this video hung a candy stick on the elf's little hand. Then they must have looked away or something because elves don't move at all if someone's looking at them. At that point, you can see the elf moving its eyes, and it's just absolutely nuts, so let's take a look. This clip shows two elves bringing a magical gift to their owner. This owner pops up this little treasure chest and discovers golden glitter inside, but after digging through it, she finds a magical key. We don't know what this key can unlock yet. Maybe it's a key to the magical doors leading to the North Pole. If that's the case, this present is a spectacular one, and the owner of one of these elves should be very happy to receive it.
Magic? Okay, let's dig and see if we can find a toy. It's supposed to be a shiny new toy. Don't see anything quite yet. There's so much glitter. Do you see all that? It's like magic. Oh, I feel something. Oh, look. Do you see that? Okay, I think I found it. Oh, wow. It looks like it's a key. Do you see that? It says okay on it.
This clip captured a day in the lives of 3 elves on the shelf, from working around the house to giving a haircut to their friend Barbie. This is an insane clip that shows a lot of details on how the elves spend their free time, so let's take a look. In this clip, we can see a chase between a cat and an elf on the shelf, and it gets really close until the elf decides to use his magic and fly upward to avoid the curious cat. Not all cats are friendly to elves, so it was probably a good decision to make. For this clip, we have an elf sitting between some toys and it slowly starts moving before getting up and leaving the frame. Seconds later, the elf shoves its head right into the camera from above and finally flips it over. This elf probably wasn't happy about its owner trying to record it moving. If you didn't know, you aren't supposed to touch your elves on the shelf, because if touched, they can lose their magic powers. And that's exactly what happened to this elf, and you can see because their eyes are blank. Fortunately, the owner's an elf on the shelf expert, and she made a magic potion out of cinnamon and foam to help her elf regain its magic powers. So let's check it out.
Magical lock. Okay. Oh, whoa, that was quick. Did you see that? It opened up immediately. Whoa! She just moved. I just saw her move. Okay, let's see. Have my magic gloves on so they will not lose their magical powers. Ah! She is! She's still smiling.
If you believe you've seen it all, this clip might convince you that you haven't seen anything when it comes to elves on the shelf caught on camera. This clip shows an elf on the shelf wearing a piece of clothing you'll never believe is possible for an elf to wear, so watch carefully. After watching this clip, we've concluded that there couldn't be any other stranger elf on the shelf caught on camera clips on the internet. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught redecorating the kitchen of its owners, and it's not the kind of decoration you would ever expect to see anywhere. We think we just found the greatest elf prankster ever. This elf on the shelf got super mad at the kids for making it angry, and it got discovered sitting and flipping one of the kids off. The elf even left a note explaining that it's angry because the kids were behaving badly towards it. And well, while the elf should be setting a good example for the kids to follow, we can't blame it for losing its temper. A YouTuber named Nicholas Bradley uploaded a clip of his elf on the shelf doing what most elves do, avoiding the camera at all costs. Unfortunately for the elf, the camera captured most of his movements, well, until it spotted the camera itself. What some elves on the shelf get into in the middle of the night remains unclear. While we agree that it's sometimes about flying, cooking, and moving around for some elves, there's some elves on the shelf that just come alive in the middle of the night to do whatever. The elf on the shelf in this clip is a perfect example of that, and we are completely puzzled by its behavior. In this next clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on tape moving and rolling its eyes. The clip shows the elf sitting on what seemed to be the top of the stairs before it started moving to face another house. Then it fell at the same time. How strange is that? This guy is on a quest to catch the elf on the shelf moving over the Christmas season. He tried putting chocolate coins and candy canes in front of the elf to make him move and grab a piece of the chocolate for a snack, but it's not gonna work. He needs to pay closer attention to the elf, but nothing appears to be changing. So he turned off the lights and installed a night vision camera, and then the elf vanishes, leaving the goodies half empty. What happened to it? Fortunately, the guy fitted a GPS tracker to the elf to keep track of it. And where do you think the elf on the shelf went? Of course, to the North Pole, and the elf is probably going to tell Santa everything that's happened to him. This next clip was recorded by a girl who woke up in the middle of the night and only sees her elf moving around in bed, so she started recording it with her phone, and she captured this marvelous sight of her elf on the shelf moving around, but it quickly notices her recording, so the elf stops moving as if nothing had happened. Is there anywhere else that cannot turn into a hiding place? We don't think so. In this clip, a camera captured an elf on the shelf quietly entering the house, but after a while, the elf decided to enter at all costs and hide at a place that will surprise you, so keep on watching. And we have a clip of this kid capturing his elf on the shelf enjoying some Tic Tacs. When the boy points the camera at the elf, it doesn't move, but when the kid turns around and it returns to the elf, you can see that the arms have moved and it starts eating Tic Tacs. It's one of the many clips where elves are too shy to move on camera, but as soon as you leave their presence, they start moving.
I have to go and see what it was.
This guy was flying his drone around the neighborhood when he came upon an elf on the shelf at the playground. Who knew that elves also like spending their time there? But that's not all, because the elf starts moving and using magic tricks to vanish into thin air before reappearing soon after and testing out one of the slides, so keep on watching.
right way, bro. You're supposed to go down the slide. Guys, I don't think there's slides at the North Pole. Like, I don't know. He doesn't know how it works. Do something off of the shelf, please. Go. Oh, yo. What? Where'd he go? Bro, he literally just disappeared. Yo. Hello? Off the shelf, what are you doing? He just went down the slide. Yay. Good.
In this clip, we have a really smart elf who noticed that a security camera was recording him at night, so he decided to just pick it up and do a little elf vlog, recording himself walking around the house. This recording was a perfect gift for the family, and the elf must have put in so much effort into it because just think about it, a camera is super heavy for the little elf, so carrying it around the house should have been really difficult.
Oh my goodness, what is that tree doing? What's he doing?
What's he do, girls?
Oh
no. Oh.
It's going on the couch. It's going. Oh my.
This little girl was soundly asleep, probably dreaming of Santa's gifts. The surveillance camera catches a glimpse of an elf peeking at her multiple times. It had multiple attempts to come near her, bouncing all over. The father caught the elf sleeping beside the little kid and thought that he saw the elf smile. What a wholesome clip.
For this clip, we have two elves that were arriving at their owner's house. The elves used a zip line to come to the front of the door, and this entire clip looks like it's taken right from Mission Impossible movies. When the elves got to the front door, they hid from the camera and possibly entered the house through an open window.
This elf noticed that his owners were trying to capture him moving on camera, but instead of sitting still and not moving at all, he decided to wave at the camera, gifting us this wonderful clip.
We have this elf on the shelf sitting beside his little friend, and in this video, both of them can be seen smiling in front of the camera. Not only that, guys, but they also move their eyes. Alright, it's a little creepy, but that's okay since they meant no harm. You probably know that elves are great beings that are meant to protect little kids. For this clip, we have a sighting of an elf on the shelf who was spotted all by himself at a haunted park. This elf escaped its owners and went hiding there so no one would find it because it didn't want to get brought back to its owners. But this YouTuber tracked it down and captured it on camera.
Over there? Oh my god, guys. I'm literally just gonna...
Now we have a short clip of an elf sitting on a mantelpiece. The elf suddenly starts moving and hides behind a sign. Let's take a look at this marvelous clip once more, and this time in slow motion so we can better see the elf moving. As this guy records an introduction for his YouTube video, you can see his elf sitting behind him on a closet start to move its arm and wave at the camera. What a spectacular sighting. Now they introduce to their son, the elf, and they make great friends.
Touch him. I'm not supposed to touch him.
Up next, we have a clip of an elf on the shelf getting baited by a $100 bill. So the elf's owner placed a $100 bill on the ground right in front of the elf, and the little fellow literally jumped off the Christmas tree to claim it.
Did you see that? You've got to be kidding. As soon as I look...
This clip shows an elf on the shelf who got inside of a toy BMW i8 coupe and started driving around the patio. The elf is not alone, as there's also a little dog sitting in the passenger seat. Now this is one of the most incredible elf on the shelf clips ever because the elf must know that he's being recorded, but still chooses to continue driving around and having fun with his new furry friend.
You guys seen this? Buddy and Needles are driving Lily around in the car? This is totally crazy! I've never seen this. I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own eyeballs. Whoa. Uh-oh. It looks like he got stuck. Are you gonna back it up, buddy? There you... Oh, whoa. Look at you driving. I cannot believe this. This is crazy. Looks like Lily's having a fun time, too.
We must admit, this is one of the most confusing elves on the shelf caught on camera clips that we've ever seen, because we still don't know if the elf in this clip was trying to have what seemed to be a salt bath or if they were trying to hide in it. Enjoy the clip and tell us your opinions in the comments. It's very difficult to catch elves moving, but it's even more difficult to capture them talking. But don't worry, for this clip we have an incredible recording of the three elves talking together. They discuss very important matters, so listen carefully.
Don't listen to Charlie and Buddy anymore.
Okay.
For this short elf on the shelf caught moving clip, we have an elf who saw a camera rolling and decided to look straight into its lens. The elf shoves its face into the camera and quickly makes its exit. What a wonderful sight.
Now we have a clip of this cheerful and adorable elf that was discovering playing in the house and being watched by the cat. After climbing the stairs, the elf balances itself high up on the stair railing before sliding down. The landing probably hurt, so he's gonna try it again with a pillow. Fortunately, the cat was super patient with his little elf friend and no harm was done to it. We don't know for sure what the elf on the shelf here is doing in this clip, but its movement caught on camera suggests that perhaps there's another elf on the shelf nearby who's about to join his buddy in front of the camera, so let's check it out. So basically, this mom was having some suspicions about her elf because it would be placed at one spot and the next morning it would be found at another place around the home. If you want to catch your own elf, make sure to listen closely on what I'm about to say because this mom shows the best tricks and tips for catching an elf. At first, she shows us that the elf is sitting silently on the Christmas tree and then proceeds to show us what seems to be the elf's door at the North Pole, which teleports it back to Santa Claus. That's the spot where you have to put your camera at because the elf will probably be trying to go back to Santa. So the next morning, she sets up 2 cameras in the living room and the kitchen, and as expected, the elf goes down the tree, and you guessed it, to the little door. So this YouTuber was flying his drone around the playground near his house looking to capture some beautiful winter footage, but he got shocked by an elf on the shelf that appeared in frame. Apparently, the elf jumped to the ground and latched onto the drone. You can see his little elf legs wiggling around, but eventually we can see the entire face of this elf. This is an amazing clip showing that elves on the shelf can be captured moving not just inside the house, but also outside, so let's check it out.
Can ever say they saw this, that's for sure. This is crazy! Oh my, okay. That's it. You know what? If he doesn't want to get off the drone, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fly it so fast he'll have no choice but to fall off. Come on, keep going, keep going. Look, he's shaking. He's shaking off. This might be working, actually.
One of the famous Christmas songs was playing in the background when this little elf was seen dancing. It sure looks fun. The elf on the shelf is raising its small arms in the air, dancing about the home. But first it checks to see if anyone's watching. As soon as the song ends, the elf returns to its cozy corner under the warm Christmas tree. After all, that's the favorite resting spot of all elves. What seemed to be an innocent clip of Grandma unwrapping items turned out to be something straight out of a movie scene. A camera caught an elf trying to walk out of the house before being caught on camera, and well, let's just take a look. These two guys failed to catch their elf moving, so they had a genius idea of watching the elf moving next to their elf while recording it with a secret camera. Their plan worked out because their elf started moving and its eyes even changed color at the end of the clip. It's one of the most fascinating elf on the shelf caught moving clips ever, so let's enjoy it together.
We thought at the beginning the elves were like regular humans, but really, it really shows when an actual human's beside them, right?
Will Ferrell's tall. He's like 6'5".
Yeah, but I mean, nah, but compared to these guys, look at them. They look like little shrimps. It's like me versus like you or something.
Nick or I like.
Dude, look how massive it is.
It looks awesome. Look at the it has like a speed.
Dude, that thing.
In this clip, YouTube Meeble Spirella managed to catch their elves on the shelf sneaking various candies and sweets.
Up next, we have a classical clip of an elf on the shelf moving on camera, but this elf is really playful and it keeps walking out of frame just to walk back in it. It seems like the elf knows that it's on camera and being recorded, so the elf decides to do a little show and have some fun. The elf keeps playing around before disappearing for the final time. What a marvelous clip.
Elves on the shelf show that they're not selfish creatures, at least shown by the elf in this next clip. The elf on the shelf was captured on camera laying a blanket on the cold floor with the other 2 dolls in the house, and even for the car toy. Now that's a caring elf. We can only hope that it also takes care of its owners. We have a clip of this guy having dinner with his elf, and as he finishes eating, he stood up and left the room. But unbeknownst to the elf, his owner left a hidden camera right in front of the elf. The elf ends up getting captured by a camera and coming to life and moving around. It even peeks into the cup to see what the owner was drinking. Family chronicled the presence of the elf on the shelf, who usually comes to them and then goes back to the North Pole at the end of the year, hopefully to report good things about them to Santa. It would be a shame if the elf's report made its own owners end up on the naughty list. An elf on the shelf played hide and seek with the camera as it moved around what seemed to be like a kitchen. After playing hide and seek with the camera for a while, it had to be forced into permanent hiding when the dog came into the kitchen. We think this elf was afraid of the dog snitching on it. This one's really crazy, guys. So this kid thought of pranking his elf on the shelf by pretending to leave the room. Little did the elf on the shelf know that he was under surveillance and his every move was being recorded. Some elves are easier to trick than others, but we should love our elves even if they're not moving. In this brief clip, we can see an elf on the shelf sitting on the Christmas tree before the elf falls down. Perhaps it wanted to move, but it noticed the secret camera recording it, so the elf made sure to quickly get out of frame so he can move without being recorded. We have a clip from a YouTuber who captured this elf on the shelf swinging on the hammock. We guess that Santa doesn't have hammocks at the North Pole, and that's why this elf decided to try its owner's hammock instead. But that's not even the most fascinating part of the clip, because at the very end, the elf just vanishes out of thin air on the hammock.
Thingy-majig, I don't even know what that's called, guys. Wait, where'd he go? Dude, he's not in there anymore. Dude! All right.
Now we have a short clip of an elf on the shelf curiously approaching a camera, and it seems like the elf kisses the camera, but then he suddenly flips it over moments before it stops recording. Now we have a clip of a group of elves sitting in darkness, and we can see the usual red elf, but next to it sits a more rare blue elf and green elves. However, the moving elf is the pink one, who comes from behind the camera and shoves the blue elf before showing its own face to the camera. While all the elves are not moving, the pink one seems to be having tons of fun alone. In this clip, we have an elf on the shelf who is caught moving by a hidden camera. The elf noticed the camera and approached it before seeing that it was on and that it was currently recording and moving. After noticing that, the elf left the frame and gave a thumbs up to the camera. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught moving by the chimney. What happened was the dad was trying to bring back the magic into the elf. You see, his kid accidentally touched the elf, resulting in it losing its magic. It was a really sad moment, but then the dad knew exactly what to do. A little bit of cinnamon powder will do the elf some good. Cinnamon is a great thing to put on your elf to bring their magic back, and after some time, the elf really did move. Make sure to remember this because it's a great trick to have active elves during Christmas. Elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving from one place to another. The elf was caught riding a tiny toy horse and being accompanied by another doll, but it left the other two to climb up the chair, but then jump on the table to find itself a hiding spot. So let's check it out. For the elf on the shelf in this clip, nighttime means playtime. In this clip, an elf on the shelf can be seen moving and trying to wake up its sleeping friends. After a long time of disturbance, it eventually falls on its friends and joins the sleeping camp. Elves also need rest. These two guys purchased some cursed Elf on the Shelf cereal, which made their Elf on the Shelf move at 3 a.m. You can see it appears briefly in the background, which made the guys go downstairs and investigate. The elf is continuously peeking around the corner as if baiting the guys to come closer. The elf ends up going to the restroom, and who knows why the elf acted in the way he did. But it's surely a great Elf on the Shelf caught moving on camera clip.
Go, catch it, catch it. Wait, where is it? Whoa. What are you?
Guys, you're too slow. Come on.
Is it taunting us? Dude, it wants us to follow. Let's go. Hurry. Wait, hello? Where'd it go? Elf? It could have went anywhere. In here, maybe? Hello? Where'd you go? There he is.
This clip shows two elves, one wearing red and another wearing pink, sitting on their toy horses, as if they're preparing for a race. However, the elf who is wearing red clothes just starts riding towards the camera. We can only wonder whether the elves wanted to race and got scared of being recorded, or they didn't even plan to race in the first place and just wanted to ride around on their little horses.
He's riding his reindeer. What is he doing, girl? What is he doing? Oh, he's gone.
That's in tears because that's so funny. That's only bubblegum.
Wait, he's coming back. What in the world?